Welcome back to my channel. So today we are gonna study control and coordination. So let's begin. As we all know, our body is an integrated body, which means many functions are carried out at the same time. So this needs control and coordination. So it is controlled by nervous system and endocrine system by releasing various hormones. In this system or in this video, we are gonna study on nervous system, and in next video we'll study about endocrine system. So the nervous system includes all the neural tissues in the body. So the neural tissues contain two kinds of cells. First one is neuron or nerve cell. This cells receives and send the signals, and the neuralgia, this cell supports and protects the neurons. So these are the different types of neuralgia. Now we'll study in detail about neuron. Before studying neuron, let's see how our nervous system is divided. So it is divided into two. One is central nervous system and second is peripheral nervous system. So central nervous system contains CNS, that is brain, and spinal cord. It also contains neural tissues, connective tissues, and blood vessels. What are the function of CNS? So the function is to process and coordinate between the organs. So it receives sensory data from inside and outside the body. It gives motor commands, controls activity of the peripheral organs, for example, skeletal muscles. And it also has higher functions of brain intelligence like memory, learning, emotions, etc. So this forms the central nervous system. It receives impulse from the surrounding body, and the brain and the spinal cord gives the command what to do. Okay, so now moving on to the peripheral nervous system. So it includes all the neural tissue outside the CNS. So this all nerve tissue which are present with nerves, and this forms PNS, that is peripheral nervous system. So what is the function? To deliver the sensory information to the CNS. So it carries the information from the body to the CNS and carry the motor commands to the peripheral tissue and system. So whatever the CNS says, it has to bring back to the organ. They are of two types: cranial nerves which are connected to the brains, and spinal nerves which are attached to the spinal cord. Autonomic nervous system. So what is the function of autonomic nervous system? Is to control subconscious action, contraction of smooth muscles and cardiac muscles, and glandular secretions which are not under our control. So involuntary movements. And say they are of two types: sympathetic division having stimulating effect and parasympathetic division having relaxing effect. Now this we will study in our next slide. So let's see in flowchart what all it contains. So nervous system is formed of central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system further divided into brain and spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system carries messages to and from the CNS. So they are of two types: somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Somatic means it has control over voluntary muscles, and autonomous means control over involuntary body functions. They are of two types: sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Now let's study neuron or nerve cell, which is a specialized cell designed to transmit information to other nerve cells, muscles or gland cells. Okay, so it is formed of three elements. First is cell body, second is axon, and third is dendrite cells, dendrite hair-like projections. So what is cell body made up of? It contains cytoplasm and nucleus. Cytoplasm contains Nissls body and neurofibrils. Now this Nissls body are absent in axon. Moving on to the axon. So they carry message away from the cell body and carry it to the other neuron, as you can see over here. It is sending it to other neuron. Axon are of two types. First is myelinated axon and second is non-myelinated axon. In myelinated axon, there is myelin sheath, and in between them there is node of Renvre. So what happens is, because of this myelin sheath, the impulses are sent faster. And the second type, which is non-myelinated sheath, So the impulse are passed slowly. Lastly, the dendrites, which are hair-like projections, so they carry messages to the cell body. Now, let's see the properties of neurons. So, what are the properties? So, first is excitability, which means stimulated by suitable stimuli, so mechanical, thermal, chemical, electrical, etc. Second is conductivity. So, the impulse is conducted similar to cable conduction and digital in nature. That means if there is some stimulus, it will pass on to the other neurons and it will reach to the brain, and then brain will give the signal, and again the neuron will carry the information to the respective gland or skin or organ. Third is all or none law. That means the stimulus should be adequate in strength. Second is refractory period, where the nerve fiber is once excited, it will not respond to the second stimulus for a brief period of time. So it will respond to only one impulse at a time. Indefatigability, nerve is normally not fatigued but might be fatigued. Adaptation, the nerve quickly adapts itself, and accommodation, slowly applied impulse is accumulated. Now let's see how transmission of nerve impulse takes place. So nerve impulse is a wave of electrochemical disturbance passing along the neuron. So what happens is when there is no stimulus, the nerve is resting. So the resting potential is -70. As I told you, it is an electrochemical. So electro means voltage will come inside. So the resting potential is -70. So when there is some stimulus and when it reaches a threshold which is -50, then there will be depolarization. So it will reach an action potential. After the impulse have been passed on to the next neuron, that neuron will go under repolarization and again it will come on to the resting potential. Okay, so now what happens basically is, so this is the neuron and this is at resting potential, that is at -70. When there is some stimulus, it will reach to threshold, potential, that is -50, and then there will be an action potential, that is depolarization of the neuron. So what happens is at the leading end of the impulse, the sodium gates get open, the membrane becomes more permeable to Na plus ion and the action potential occurs. That means that sodium starts to enter into the cell, which is the axon part. Now as the action potential passes, potassium gets open and allow K plus ion to flow out. So after the action potential has been reached, K plus ions, matlab potassium channel ion opens and they go out of the cells. And then there is uh, action potential continues to move along the axon in the direction of the nerve impulse. That means this now impulse is been passing to the other cell, and then that neuron will come to the resting potential again. Okay. Now let's see something which is known as synapse. So what is synapse? A junction that mediates information transfer from one neuron to another neuron. So as you can see over here, so this transfer of information can be from one neuron to another neuron, or it can be to an effector cells, that is muscles or secretory cells. So as you can see over here, this is one neuron and this is second neuron, and the junction which is formed in between them, which is zoomed over here, and this is the synaptic gap. That means transfer of information from one neuron to the another neuron through a gap which is known as synaptic gap. So there is presynaptic neuron which conducts impulse towards the synapse. So this is the presynaptic neuron which is conducting the impulse towards the synapse, and the postsympathetic neuron which transmit the impulse away from the synapse. This is receiving side. So this is the postsynaptic neuron which is receiving the impulse. Now the type of synapse are exodendric, that means axon of one to dendrite of another, and second one is exosomatic, which is axon of one to soma of another. So these are the common type, and the less common types are also been mentioned over here. Now there are two types of synapse. First is electrical synapse and other one is chemical synapse. So what happens in electrical synapses? It is less common than chemical synapse. Neurons are electrically coupled, that is joined by junction gaps, and communication is very rapid, and hence mostly they are bidirectional, but sometimes they can be unidirectional. So transmission of impulse is fast as the gap is narrow between the pre and the post synaptic neuron. So this is electrical synapse in which there is electrical coupling. Moving on to the second type, which is known as chemical synapses. So what happens is a special neurotransmitter is released, that is a chemical which is known as acetylcholine. It composed of two main parts. First is axon terminal, as you can see over here, which forms the presynaptic neuron, which contains synaptic vesicles, as you can see over here. And the second part is the postsynaptic, which is the receiving impulse, and it contains receptors. Now there is synaptic cleft, which is fluid space between the pre and the postsynaptic neuron found in chemical synapses. Now the transmission across the synapses is how it is a chemical event and it is not an electrical event. It includes release, diffusion and binding of neurotransmitters. So it provides unidirectional communication between the neurons. Now let's see how the neurotransmitters work and helps in transfer of impulse or action potential from one neuron to another neuron. So as the action potential arrives is at the presynaptical neuron, that is at the axon terminal over here, which leads to opening of calcium channels. So calcium channels get open. Now these calcium channels enter the neuron terminal and causes synaptical vesicle fusion with the cell membrane. So these vesicles now break off. So there is exocytosis of the neuron and they are released in the synaptical cleft. Now the neurons transmit and reaches towards the receptors of the postsynaptical neuron. The ion channel in the membrane of the postsynaptical cell opens and causes the exhibitory or inhibitory action according to the stimulus. Now these neurotransmitters which are present in the synaptical cleft are broken down in the cleft and taken again by the presynaptical neuron. Now let's study about central nervous system in detail. So it is composed of two main parts, brain and spinal cord. This organ work together to integrate and coordinate sensory and motor information for the purpose of controlling various tissues, organ and organ system of the body. Okay. The second is central nervous system is also responsible for higher neural functions such as memory, learning and emotions. Now the brain is enclosed in a brain box or a cranium of skull. This is the cranium of the skull in which it is enclosed, and the spinal cord is under the vertebral column. So this is the vertebral column and this is the part of it which shows the how spinal cord is protected inside vertebral column. Now let's see the covering of the brain and the spinal cord, which is known as meninges. So they are of three types. Dura mater, which is the outer covering, which is shown by a white color line. Second followed by arachnoid matter, which is shown over here by a blue line. And the third, which is known as pia mater, which is shown by the purple line over here. The space between the arachnoid and the pia mater is known as subarachnoid space, which contains CSF, that is cerebrospinal fluid. Now let's see what is CSF. CSF is a clear, colorless, transparent fluid. It circulates through the body cavity in the brain, which are known as ventricles, subarachnoid space and central canal of spinal cord. Now it is a part of extracellular fluid. It is formed at the coracoid plexus and by the lining, cells lining the ventricles. Okay. What are the functions of CSF? So it is a mechanical cushion to the brain. That means it helps in absorbing the shock So if somebody gets an injury, so it will prevent the brain from getting damaged. Source of nutrition to brain, that means it provides oxygen and glucose. Excretion of metabolic waste product. Intracellular transport medium, control of chemical environment, and autoregulation of intracranial pressure. Brain is divided into forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Frontbrain is divided into cerebrum, thalamus, hypothalamus. Midbrain is divided into corpora quadrigemina and hindbrain is divided into pons, medulla oblongata and cerebellum. Now let's study the parts of forebrain. So cerebrum, first part is cerebrum, which is the largest part of the brain, and it is divided into two equal left and right semi-hemisphere. These two left and right semi-hemisphere, cerebral hemisphere, are connected by a band of thick nerves which is known as corpus callosum. As you can see over here, it is present in between this cleft. Okay, so cerebral cortex, it is the outer part, cerebral medulla, which is the inner part. Cortex is made up, inner cortex is made up of cytons. Cytons is nothing but gray matter, so it gives us gray appearance, and the medulla is formed of white matter, that is of axons covering the myelin sheath, and hence it gives the white appearance. Now the most important function of cerebrum is to sense the organ and obtain the information. A certain part of cerebrum primary controls intelligence, learning, memory, emotional, subconscious, consciousness, thinking, and also the ability to articulate speech. Okay, now there are four parts: frontal, parietal, occipital and temporal. Frontal is mostly concerned with motor area. There is something which is known as Broca's area, which helps in translating the speech. Okay, so it helps in making the speech. Now there comes parietal area. Parietal area is mostly concerned with sensory area. Over here there is Wernicke's area, which helps in understanding spoken and written words. Then there is occipital area, which is mostly concerned with visual, that is our eyesight, and temporal, which is concerned for auditory, that is hearing part. Now the cerebrum, the nerves that comes from the right side of the body connects to the left side of the cerebral hemisphere and vice versa. Moving on to the second part of the forebrain, there is, that is diencephalon. It is a part of forebrain located below the cerebrum. As you can see over here, this part is diencephalon, which is situated below the cerebrum. It contains of thalamus and hypothalamus. Thalamus is situated between the cerebral cortex and midbrain. So this is the cerebral cortex and this is the midbrain, and here is the thalamus. It is there are left and right thalamus. It receives nerve impulse from sense organ and transmit them to the upper region. It coordinates the sensor and motor signaling. Now the hypothalamus contain, which is present below the thalamus, contain many area that controls body temperature, urge for eating and drinking, etc. Some region of the cerebrum along with the hypothalamus are involved in regulation of sexual behavior and also in expression of emotional reactions such as excitement, pleasure, fear, etc. Now moving on to the midbrain, it is a smaller region of the brain that connects cerebrum with the hindbrain. So this is the midbrain. So the cerebrum is connected with the hindbrain through the midbrain. It has region that concern with sense of sight and hearing. That means vision and hearing. Some of the region of the midbrain transmit motor impulse to the limbs. Now let's see the parts. So if the dorsal surface of the midbrain, like if we see from posteriorly, what we will see is corpora quadrigemina. Quadri means four, gemina means four circles like structure. So here you can see this superior colliculi and this inferior colliculi forms corpora quadrigemina. So superior is concerned with coordinate eye movement with vision stimuli, and the inferior colliculi is concerned with auditory stimuli. Hindbrain consists of pons, cerebellum, and medulla oblongata. The pons spheroli consists of nerve fibers that connects various portions like cerebellum, cerebrum, medulla oblongata of the brain. It has the control of for facial expression, respiration, and mastication. Mastication matlab chewing. Along with the 12 pairs of cranial nerves, 4 pair originate from pons spheroli, which we will see in further slides about cranial nerves. Cerebellum, which is the part of hindbrain, is responsible for maintaining the posture of the equilibrium of the body. It also coordinates the voluntary muscles according to the direction of the cerebrum. Medulla is the posterior part of the brain and it is connected to the spinal cord. Most involuntary actions such as heartbeat, blood pressure, movement of food in the alimentary canal, salivation, etc. are controlled by medulla of the hindbrain. Spinal cord's covering are vertebrae. It is enclosed in a vertebral column, so it is protected by vertebrae first. Then there is an epidural space, as you can see over here. Followed by epidural space, there is dura mater, arachnoid mater, subarachnoid space, and pia mater. This forms the covering of spinal cord. Spinal cord extends from medulla to second vertebral lumbar vertebrae. It is 16 to 18 inches or 40 to 45 centimeter long in adults. Then there is something which is known as cons medullaris, which is the broader part, which is the tip of the spinal cord, and it lies at L1 and L2. As you can see over here, this is cons medullaris tip. This cons medullaris ends into a tapering method which is known as filum terminale, which contains pia mater and extend till coccyx. Then there is something which is known as cauda equina, in which the spinal nerves continue to emerge beyond the cons medullaris. So the spinal nerves which arises forms a bundle, and this bundle is known as cauda equina. Now the gray commissure, which is in S shape, as you can see over here, which contains cytons. It contains a central canal in between through which CSF flows. Now the gray horns, so there is an anterior gray horn which is also known as ventral gray horn, which contains motor or efferent neurons which controls voluntary muscle contraction. Then there is a posterior horn which contains somatic, which contains sensory informations, and then there is a lateral horn which is present only in thoracic and lumbar vertebrae, and it controls autonomic, motor, efferent, involuntary muscle contractions. Okay, and then there is spinal nerve which is formed through this horns, lateral, dorsal and ventral horns. So this dorsal horn contains sensory impulses, as the sensory part is present in the dorsal region. So and sensory nerves, and this ventral part contains motor nerves and forms a motor nerve. So there are 31 pairs: cervical 8 pairs, thoracic 12 pairs, lumbar 5 pairs, sacrum 5 pairs, and coccyx 1 pair. Now moving on to the peripheral nervous system, so it connects CNS, that is brain and spinal cord, to the different parts of the body. So there are two main types. First is cranial nerves, which are connected to the brain. These nerves are connected to the brain, so they originate from brains, and the spinal nerves which are connected to the spinal cord, which we saw in last slide. Now, how to remember the names of cranial nerves. So there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves. So starting from, to remember the name, there is a mnemonic which we use, OOO, to touch and feel velvet gives very amazing happiness. So for this, O stands for olfactory, which is the function is smell. Second O stands for optic, which is vision. Third is oculomotor, which is the most eye movements are controlled through it. Third is ocular, which is eye, again used for eye movement. Trigeminal, which is used for face sensation and mastication. Then abducus, which abducts the eye sense. Facial, which is for facial expression and taste. V stands for vestibulocochlear, which stands for hearing and balancing. Glossopharyngeal, which is taste and for gag reflex. Glossopharyngeal, then vagus for gag reflex and parasympathetic interventions. Then accessory, which is used for shoulder shrug, and hypoglossal, which is used for swallowing and speech. And how to remember the nerve type? We have a mnemonic which is known as, some says money matters, but my brother says big brain matters more. So for here, S stands for sensory, M stands for motor, and B stands for both. Okay, so you can easily remember through this mnemonic. So let's have a revision. So nervous system is divided into central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Peripheral carry messages to and from the CNS. CNS is divided into two, brain and spinal cord, connects brain and peripheral nervous system, spinal cords work. Then peripheral nervous system divided into two, somatic nervous system, which controls voluntary muscles, and autonomous nervous system, which controls involuntary body functions. Now autonomic are further divided into sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic arouses the body and parasympathetic calms the body. Now let's study about autonomic nervous system. So autonomic nervous system, also known as ANS, transmits impulse from CNS to the involuntary organ and smooth muscle of the body. So the voluntary muscles are controlled by somatic nervous system and involuntary by autonomic nervous system. The majority of the organ of the body are supplied by both sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves, which have opposite effect, that are finely balanced to ensure the optimum functioning of the organ. Which means that if sympathetic arouses the body, parasympathetic relaxes the body. That means which has opposite effect, which are necessary to maintain a balance in the organism. So there are two types, sympathetic and parasympathetic. This nerves arises from our spinal cord only. Now let's see something about sensory receptors. So these receptors are specialized cells or nerve endings which responds to the stimuli. So for example, these are the nerve endings, or these are the receptors through which the neurons transmit the impulses to the central nervous system. Okay. So this generated impulse which informs CNS about the changes in the internal and the external environment. Receptors are transducers which converts various forms of energy into action potential or electrical energy, as we saw earlier. Okay. Now types of receptors. So mechanoreceptors, which are touch receptors which are present on the skin. They are of two types: tangoreceptors, which means pressure, and tactile receptors, which means touch. Thermoreceptors, which gives us temperature, which gives us the feeling of temperature, whether it is cold or warm. Then chemoreceptors, which are present on tongue and nasal mucosa. So gustatoreceptors, which are for taste, and olfactory receptors, which are for smell. Then there is something which is known as phonoreceptors, which are used for auditory, which are present in inner ear, which helps in hearing. And photoreceptors, which are retina of the eyes, which contains cones and rods, which helps in interpreting the image. Thank you. Hope you like this video. The further half of the video, that is the endocrine system, will be continued in next part. So please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Till then, bye.